with most of your staff, if not all of your staff, is Indian, and you're competing against American companies. Did you find early on, you're talking in 1994, in those years, did you find that there was discrimination? Did you run into that?
No, no, I met some really upstanding people here. So one of the things I did was that knowing my limitations, I didn't understand the culture very well at the time.
What were you
On,
missing?
I
When
didn't
you say you didn't
know.
understand the culture, what did that look like? So at some point, it cost you something by not understanding it. I'm just wondering, what did you not understand that you now understand? You follow me?
The nuances of college football, NCAA football. It's true.
What have to do with anything?
Oh, it's got a lot to do with everything because buying as is a decision which is based on emotion, not usually not on logic. And people like to buy from people like them, like themselves. That. So I went and hired a very diverse team. I was not surrounded entirely by Indian people. I was on purpose going and finding people that understood what I was doing and willing to come and be a part of what I was trying to build. And I learned a lot of lessons from that. One of them being the whole selfish thing about being able to be better. But also, I started making better decisions. One of the things we do is when you have a cultural upbringing of a kind, we tend to think in a particular manner, maybe be more conservative. In India, people are probably more conservative.
Yeah.
They don't like to make bold decisions. And I had execs that would recommend things which I would think were totally outlandish. But then I realized they were right. I should be making some of these decisions. And so not bet the farm on anything, but definitely take chances. And so that really paid off for me.
But how did it work? How did it work then as you're building this company? Sophie was working in the company.
That's right.
How did it not become or maybe it did become a family business? If it's a family business, you grew it like the Waltons did. Okay. What were the challenges and are those challenges cultural? You follow me?
There were challenges, but those challenges were not because Sophie was involved here and my dad was running the company in India. Okay.
Okay.
I would say that the challenges were because I did not understand how to share wealth with employees and get them motivated as partial owners of a company rather than. And it after a while I did, and then I made changes, and that was transformational. But that was what
So
maybe.
you went through a period where you were the employees saw this as a family company in effect.
Oh yeah.
And then you had to so the answer to that was to distribute some equity to start having other people share in the pie, if you will.
That's right. I did that, and I brought in some really high-profile execs to
Oh, okay.
work with me, and they obviously wouldn't come in without real both cash compensation as well as stock options and things like that.
Did they all come from IBM Global Services, or sometimes the guys that are beating you in deals are the best guys to hire?
Yeah. No, I had a lot of, again, I was very fortunate. I brought in a person. He said, I can't work for you. Said his name was John Cook. So John was the founder, chairman, CEO of a company in town called PRGX. Okay. And
Okay.
amazing man. He taught me so many lessons, Charlie, including on generosity. I mean, he used to give away a lot of his money to causes in Nepal and Thailand and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, but this man, I mean, so he came on board and he was a great mentor. But he said, I cannot work for you. Said, I was chairman CEO of PRGX. So I said, okay, fine. How can I involve you? So he said, I'll be chairman of your board. I said, okay, he came to work every day and he said, I don't need cash compensation. We don't need to give any more money to Uncle Sam, but I definitely want some benefit at the back end of this. So he created a plan for him to benefit on the back end of it. And he did very well when we had the exit. I also brought in a CFO who was the head of M&A at UPS. And he did a lot of the M&A for me as well. And I basically put together a team that was diverse, different races, different genders. I insisted on that because, in fact, the funny thing is, you're right. Actually, I saw a lot of my friends who ran companies like mine, and they were surrounded by people who are also Indian, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I, on purpose, built this team of a Caucasian CFO. I had an African American lady who was my legal counsel, and so on and so forth. But the funny thing is, I had to fight with them because they wanted to hire people just like themselves. I said, no, you can't do that. Why don't you look at these options? And they
How old
eventually,
were you when you were doing all this building? It sounds like you were in your early 30s by then.
that's right.
And
I was in,
you were thinking diversity before anybody else I know was thinking diversity.
yeah. But it was, to me, it was smart business too. And I think that diversity is smart business. I really believe so.
When did
It,
you believe that? What was the catalyst that had you believing that?
I, I just said, my head of infrastructure was an African American gentleman, and he came and said, think about partnerships with who IBM. And I said, are you kidding me? I compete with them. But he said, no, you got to look at it because they have a team of probably 500 people that's just focused on partnerships. Okay. And they allocate a bunch of money for it and you will benefit a lot. I said, well, that's a different way to look at it. So
Yeah.
I would never have done that because
So what does the
culturally,
partnership have to do with the diversity? Corporate partnership like that.
because the way I thought was an enemy is an enemy. And he was able to,
I see. Okay.
right? And he's saying, yeah, there are parts of it that you're right, we'll never collaborate with, but you got to look at the portions that you can get benefit from. And I'm not saying it was just something that he brought to the table and a different way of thinking on that.
That
He was
makes
a very collaborative guy. And then my CFO he was very aggressive with deal making. He taught me a lot about deal making. Right?